The athletic director at The Ohio State University, Gene Smith, joining us now on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Yeah, you're right. It's not your space. We certainly understand that.
Nope. He said that nope means I'm not touching none of that.
Yeah, hey, you're smart, Gene. You're a smart man. First of all, thanks for joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We have a ton of Buckeye fans, and we also we're proud to have a Buckeye alum. He's got his shirt proudly displayed today. So I'm going to actually let Tyvis Powell ask the first question. Ty, it's all yours, man. Yeah, absolutely.
My man. Good to see you, T.
You too. Hey, G, I want to let you know, before I ask you anything, I just want to thank you so much. During my last year at Ohio State, I remember you taking me to those events and, having me get dressed in suits and talking to people and getting up on stage. You really prepared me for life, and I truly appreciate you for doing such a thing.
I'm going to applaud that.
I'm going to
applaud that.
You didn't have to do that. And
That's a nice moment.
That is a great moment.
But getting down to things, it's the Buckeyes winning it all this year. Let's just go right there.
There you go, T. Let's get real now.
Is my Buckeyes going to hold that trophy up this season? When you look at this team, obviously you wrote a check. You wrote a blank check and told them to go out and get a defensive coordinator, and they end up getting Jim Knowles. Do you think that right now is that money being well spent from what you've seen?
Yeah, last year and actually last couple years, it became evident. We needed to try and make some changes in how we ran our defense. And Ryan and I sat down and really before the season was over and then at the end of the season, and I told him, just go out and find the best, because our players deserve that. Buckeye Nation deserve that. Just find the best. And he interviewed a number of people and came up with Jim. And I think we're going to be better because of it. Jim runs the defense. And there were times when Ryan, who was an outstanding offensive coach, really had to found himself working on the defensive side of the ball. And I want him to work on his wheelhouse. And his wheelhouse, besides leading the overall program, is offense. And so he needed a guy that ultimately he could turn to and say, run it, get it done, and solve our issues. And as you know, Tyvis, we have unbelievable talent. And a coach's responsibility is to put the players in position to win. And so Jim is a good one. I think we'll be better. We have a great deal of talent. So now I think they'll play loose and free like they should be able to play.
Gene, there's a lot of expansion going on right now. It's expansion in college football. It's expansion in terms of the Big Ten and bringing in big names from, the West Coast. I want to ask a little bit about the college football playoff a little bit. In your opinion, are you in favor of expanding that, and under what time frame or under parameters would you be looking to expand the college football player from a 4 to 8 to a 12 to a 16?
Yeah, I'm in favor of expansion, and I've always been in favor of expansion. It gives an opportunity for other schools to participate in something that is really special. I think we have history now. When we went to the 4 from the BCS to the CFP and went to 4, so we have some lessons learned. So I believe it ought to be 12, maybe 16. Some people are talking about that. I'm interested in that conversation, but it definitely needs to expand and just provide more opportunities for young people to chase the Holy Grail. And,
that's sweet music.
Yeah,
we love that. Yeah. I think fans, more is always better.
Yeah.
4 was great. Why not expand it to 8? And beyond that, 12, 16. It's been done at the smaller levels of college football. Gene, this will probably be the most broad question you've ever been asked, but what do you think about the NIL?
That's funny. So, obviously I co-chaired the committee that actually brought NIL into our space. I've always believed in NIL. I believe back when Tyvis was playing, I believe that our student athletes should have an opportunity to monetize their persona. And actually, it's a great educational opportunity to help student athletes understand why they have to build their persona the right way, why they have to manage their social media platforms the right way. Taxes. And many of our student athletes had no clue about taxes. I used to tell them, don't worry about the NCAA, worry about the IRS. And they've learned a lot about taxes. And so there's just so many lessons learned. However, I'm disappointed that we're in a place where the NCAA is not providing any oversight, and now we have inducements occurring with our recruits, and it's always been there, but now it's really emblazoned, and people are just bold about it, and we got to find a way to mitigate that. But largely, NIL's working. We have over 350 athletes on our college campus that have taken advantage of it. 1,250 deals. Average value is about a little over $2,900. And keep in mind, Tyvis didn't have this issue. Many of our student athletes are on partial scholarship, so they leave in debt. So if you got a 25% scholarship, you got 75% you got to pay for. And many of them leave in debt. Now those kids can mitigate that debt, which is really good.
Gene, let me drill down on that concept that you talked about, the guardrails. Currently, the NCAA, when we look at it, doesn't have any infrastructure as far as teaching the young men, okay, what's a good deal, what's a bad deal, financial literacy, even kind of vetting some of these people that come into their space, getting them to try to do some of these deals. What is I guess some of the pitfalls in not having those guardrails, and what has Ohio State done in regards to trying to fill that space to kind of make sure that their student athletes get the education that they should deserve?
Yeah, and then we're not alone. Ohio State started prior to NIL being authorized in July of last year. We started our education then. We were already teaching financial literacy, but we took it up to another level. And so teaching them about contract responsibilities. So if you make a commitment to do so many Instagram stories and show up to X number of events, if you don't do that, you have a breach of contract, and the organization or company can claw back on what they pay you. So we've taught a lot of that. We hired 2 companies to work with us in teaching our student athletes, and a lot of our education has been for parents. I remember having a Zoom call with our parents, and a gentleman by the name of Luke Feltman, who Tyvis, I'm sure, remembers.
Yes, I do.
He's always been a part of our education program. He's a local lawyer. Now he has a big company, and so I had the parents on the Zoom call because all of our football players, none of them ever paid taxes. They were dependent on their parents' taxes, and so we had to get the parents talking about this with their athletes. So we've done a lot of education in this space, and really, really focused on making sure they don't do too long of deals, do 1-year deals, vetting agents and management companies. So we've done a lot, but we're not the only one. There's a lot of schools in the country that do what we do. Unfortunately, there's a lot that's not, to your point.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, you don't just oversee football. What's an Ohio State sports team that doesn't get enough attention and affection from the public right now that you think deserves more?
Wow. We have 36 of them. So you put me on the spot. That's serious. That's the real hot seat, because my coaches might see this. So I'm gonna have to say all 35 of the others.
Such a diplomat. Wow. Hey, listen, you don't get to his position in life, and you don't spend 17 years as the athletic director at, in my estimation, the best university in the United States, unless you're a smooth politician.
So I got to go see. I got to watch co-ed fencing.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, all you guys need to come down here and go to synchronized swimming.
All right, I'll give it
and
a
then
swing.
then we're gonna put you in the pool with them.
That's not happening, Gene.
I do have one more thank you for you too, as long as we're being grateful for things like Tyvis did and everything. I went to Kent State. And I want to thank you on behalf of not just Kent State, but all MAC schools that you bring in to play on your homecoming game to murder in front of everyone. Mostly because we could really use the money, and I really do appreciate it. It's a nice chance to go to a stadium. So thank you.
Well, I have a huge affinity for the Mid-American Conference. Obviously, I grew up in Cleveland, and I've always really focused on MAC schools, including Kent. I remember back in the days when Jack Lambert and and Larry Poole, all those great ones at Kent. And but I cut my teeth at Eastern Michigan University.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where my blessing occurred, where I found my career path at Eastern Michigan for 10 years, 8 years as athletic director. So I have a huge affinity for the Mid-American Conference. It's great football, great coaches, great institutions, and we need to do everything we can to prop up the Mid-American Conference, as well as the FCS schools.
Gene, to that point, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a Bowling Green alum, and the gentleman next to me, G. Bush, is an OU guy. So with Mac is well represented here. As a Bowling Green grad myself, I have a huge concern about the future of college football at a school like Bowling Green or Miami, OU, because what is happening in college football is the rich are getting richer. There's been reports that I want to ask you about in a second about perhaps Washington, Oregon, Cal, and Stanford even joining the Big Ten. You're getting these huge conferences, and I'm wondering how the MAC and how some of these other tweener conferences still exist in that landscape. What is your vision of the future there?
Yeah, first of all, we need a new governance structure, and I believe one of them could be the underneath the umbrella of the college football playoff, with all 130 FBS schools. Those schools, like the Mid-American Conference, who make a commitment to provide 85 scholarships in the sport of football. So you create a governance structure for those programs, and then when the college football playoff expands to 12 or 16, whatever it is, the college football playoff generates $500 million right now. It'll probably generate another minimum $500 million, if not more. So you look at that funding and you try and help the Mid-American Conference schools. We have to have standards. So the medical, for example, if you're at Kent and you get injured in your senior year, then the university needs to take care of you for the next 2 years or so until you recover. But right now that doesn't happen in a lot of places because of funding, to your point. So how do we help those schools do that? You do that through the additional revenue that will be generated, hopefully, by the college football playoff. And then the other conferences need to continue to do what we do and pay larger guarantees if necessary. So we got to find ways to help them. So I think the Mid-American Conference and schools like that matter. But let's be clear. At the end of the day, everybody where they are needs to focus on where they are. I never forget about my time at Eastern Michigan, where many of my coaches were talking about what Michigan State did or what Michigan did. I kept telling them, look, if you want to compete at that level, you go get a job at those schools. I want to be Western Michigan. I want to be Central Michigan. I want to be Toledo. So the Mid-American Conference needs to make sure that they're strong together and focus on MAC championships.
Interesting.
Mid-American Conference championships. Yeah. If they jump into the CFP, great. But don't lose yourself. And that's where we find ourselves sometimes, is we lose ourselves trying to be somebody that we're not. Mm-hmm. There's always been a gap, man. There's always been a gap.
Yeah.
Ohio State has always been different than Kent or Akron or whatever. It's getting bigger, no question. But let's not lose ourselves relative to where we are.
I like how you talked about losing yourself and, remembering where you came from. It brings me to the first game of this season. Now, we all know that you are a former Notre Dame defensive end, but current Ohio State AD. So, with that being said, I know where your heart is. Who's going to win that game?
Well, Buckeyes are going to win that game, and that's what it's all about, man. But, I love my alma mater. I was blessed. I learned so much there. I still can't believe I had an opportunity from the east side of Cleveland to go to the South Bend and get a degree there and compete at the highest level and win championships. It was a blessing. But when it comes to competition, I cheer for them, except when we play them. And I don't care what sport it is, tennis or volleyball or whatever. I want to spank them.
Good. I like that attitude. I like that mentality. Gene, I brought it up a little bit ago. USC and UCLA bringing West Coast flair now to the Big Ten. And there was a report last week that there are also some discussions, perhaps Washington, Cal, Oregon, and Stanford, which would pretty much lock up the entire West Coast being in the Big Ten. What can you tell us about those discussions? Are they real? Is this imminent? Where are we?
I can't tell you anything. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, nobody said anything about USC and UCLA, and all of a sudden we looked up and there was this huge plume of
Boom.
smoke over the college football environment. How did we miss all
That's how
of
it
that?
happened. That's
You
how it
guys are
happened.
good, man. You guys are tricky good.
But no, we've over the last probably 14 months, as we prepared to get into our television negotiations, and ultimately once we got into them, we talked about a lot of schools nationally and which schools actually moved the needle for us relative to a television package. And USC and UCLA were obvious. Now we're in the top 3 television markets in the country, and of course Notre Dame moves the needle as well. We have not discussed in any real detail the other schools. Obviously, if we get approached, then we'll have to respond to that. But right now we're pretty comfortable with where we are. That's not to say something might not happen. It could possibly happen. But right now, we're not really focused on that.
Is the big fish Notre Dame?
Yeah, obviously, they're a school that any conference would accept. They cherish their independence, and I understand that. But they do move the needle from a television point of view, and for us, they fit our footprint. They're not an AAU institution like USC and Southern Cal are, and the other schools in our league, with the exception of Nebraska. However, their academic status is significant, and so we think that they would fit.
Gene, and I'll ask you this question. In 10 years, how many major conferences do you think will be?
It's hard, really hard to say. It's hard. Our television contract goes out to 32, the ACC goes out to 36, and just go from there. A large part of this is driven by your opportunity to enhance your television package and generate more revenue. So I just don't know. It's a hard one. It really is. I think in most instances, conferences look at it that way. How can we enhance our television opportunities and generate more revenue? So I wish I had a crystal ball. I'd probably be doing something different if I could answer that question, but that's a hard one to answer.
Are you comfortable at 16 right now in the conference? Just at 16?
Yeah, I'm comfortable at 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm comfortable at 16. Because if we went to 18, I'd be fine with that too. I think it could work. It's all a matter of making sure, first and foremost, we come up with a scheduling strategy to mitigate wear and tear on the student athletes. That's it. That's, Tyvis, you remember those night games, flying back and getting to your crib at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's the real bottom. That's the deal. I think about that stuff all the time. And so we got to make sure we do that. And then secondly, fit. I'm big on culture, big on fit. Schools is going to do it the right way. And we do it a certain way in the Big Ten. And certain things are important to us. And so you got to find schools that fit. But I'm good with 16. I could jump to 18 if we had to. So we'll see.
Gene, you brought up the wear and tear on the athlete, which is the commodity in all of this. How much consideration was given to the travel wear and tear that the 2 West Coast teams that are now in the conference are going to have? And not just football and basketball. You're talking about softball, volleyball, all of these other sports now. For SC and UCLA, just about everything is a major road trip now.
Yeah, it's so critical. And I was actually surprised that they wanted to do this with their Olympic sports, because it won't be football that will be the big issue. It'll be the Olympic sports, to your point. So I'm concerned about that. We have to really come up with a good scheduling philosophy and planning assumptions that mitigate that to a great degree. You bring your softball team out this way, and maybe you play 2 Big Ten teams and you're back home, and as opposed to come here and playing 3 games against 1 team, maybe it's 4 games against 2. I mean, whatever it is, but we got to find a way so they're not hamstrung with traveling east as much as we think they might.
You know, Jen, let me ask you this. We talk about NIL, right? If somebody came to you today and said, hey, if you had to pay, based on the structure today, if you had to pay a stipend from the university directly to a player in basketball and football, would it be financially feasible?
Yeah, for certain level schools, not everybody, right? So, so to your point, here we go. So right now, a student athlete receives room, board, books, and tuition, and that's the old model that made no sense, and we needed to change that. So we ultimately added cost of attendance. Okay, so you get that $3,500, $3,800 on top of the normal scholarship. Now, what's been added is the Austin money, which is $5,980 that you get. Okay, so that's on top of your cost of attendance.
Must be nice.
So here we divvy that out in 4 checks. But then to your question, I don't see an issue with if we said we're going to pay in your scholarship model the rights for your name, image, and likeness for the athletic department and the institution to have access to for these things. Maybe it be memorabilia, it'd be TV, promotional opportunities, whatever it is. I don't have a problem with that.
And Gene, that would be collective then, right? So all of the players would benefit from that, not just the few upper echelon athletes that are currently getting the NIL money.
Walk-ons as well?
Exactly right. Now, here's the issue. What we can't get to is student athletes being employees. I am against that 100%. If that happens, I'm out. At the end of the day, I do not want to treat our student athletes like employees. I would like it to be like a stipend, like was said, and so it's a part of the scholarship model. I see it as educational. I really do. We cannot lose our focus on the academics, getting your degree, and then all the life skills lessons that you learn through sport that we focus on. So I'm passionate about that. If we turn into employee-employee relationship, I'm out.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in your position across the country have the same feeling. We have time for 2 more questions. I'll ask one, and then our producer, McNuggets, has one for you. Don't ask about the nickname. It's pretty complicated.
Ryan Day came up with it.
You guys can't leave me hanging like that.
Ryan Day co-signed it.
Yeah, he did.
Coach, Gene, we'd be remiss if we didn't get you to talk about the Cleveland sports scene. So a young guy growing up in Cleveland, I'm curious to know where your professional sports loyalties lie, how you watch the Browns, Indians, Guardians, Cavs. Like, how is that carried through your life? Are you even a Cleveland sports fan?
Oh my God, I'm a huge Cleveland sports fan. I'm a Cavs fan. I'm a Guardians fan. I'm a Browns fan. No, I played with the Cavaliers when they first started. I drove out to Warrensville Heights High School because they had the best basketball courts, and I played against Wesley Walker. I mean, back in the day. I mean,
wow.
So I love the Cavs, and Austin Carr's a good friend, and so anyway, I'm big on supporting. I watch them on television all the time. I periodically get to a Cavs game. I can't get to Browns games. It's really hard for me on Sundays after our games, but I support them big time, and I'm hoping that things get really good for each of those teams. I love the fact that the Guardians went on a hell of a run.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, they're just a game out of first place.
Yeah, I just love it. So I follow them. I track them.
Very good.
Good.
All right, McNuggets, you're on the hot seat.
Oh boy.
McNuggets. Does that have to do anything with? Is it McDonald's McNuggets? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What's the deal?
It is.
It's a long story, Gene.
When you come
I
back,
could go a whole lot of ways. If you guys leave me hanging, my mind just goes in a lot of
Terrible places. Yeah.
a nickname like McNuggets in Cleveland. That ain't
when you come back, that means you have to come back. We'll tell you the full origin story of McNuggets, Gene. But 2 weeks ago, I went down to Columbus with Tyvis for Cardale Jones softball, charity softball tournament. And Tyvis gave a nice little story about you beforehand and how you helped him. So I want to actually pull this video back up. I want you to watch a minute of Tyvis playing softball, Gene. And let us know if you believe that he could have gone pro in baseball. Because after this performance, he told us that had he decided to play baseball, not football, he could have gone to the major league. So let's watch about a minute of this. And Gene, I'd love your reaction to Tyvis in this charity softball.
Straight face.
Trying to go perfect, do my best J-Ram, Jose Ramirez impersonation. Wait till everybody get on base and then just go ahead and grand slam the thing. Flip the bat, take the shirt off, throw a party out there. You know how I do. Hell no! Come on, man. Hey, Ray Charles can see that hit man was saved. I can't believe throw me out the game. All my life I played first base, but then I got fast and went to the center field. Let's shoot. Guardians, if you need one, come on, baby. I got the looks. I'm hitting, catching, outfield. Come on, man. ATH. I see you with the face paint. Where can I get that at? I'm trying to get some for the game.
I'm an athlete. I never played baseball, ever.
But you can golf.
I hold on to the club.
This the one. This the winner right here. Yard. Easy. Look at that.
Oh, impressive.
Thank you, Gene. Easy money.
That's a weak flare to center, Gene.
Easy money.
Gapped it. He found some green.
Oh,
Bobby.
my God. Bobby.
He beat it out. Get the hell out the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Just make
There'll be a lot of Bengay after this game.
Icy high.
That boy got on off an air.
Oh, look at Terrence Kyle.
Yeah, get back in shape. Sheesh. Straight out there, home run. How about that? I'm calling it. Anybody that's listening.
All right, good.
I guarantee home run. That's where I'm at. Thank
I love the
Round
arrogance.
out.
I love the arrogance.
Oh, boy. There's a man with confidence right there now.
Gene, he does not lack confidence.
All-star performance right there, I must say. I mean, Gene, if I would have took it as serious as I took football, definitely. I'm not gonna say I would have went first round, but I definitely would have.
That man.
Definitely.
Oh, my Lord.
Me and Jay lining it up. He gonna pitch to me. I'm gonna take him over the fence.
Yeah, that's laughable. That's
Well,
very
we'll
funny.
give you A for effort. As always, we'll give you A for effort because you always had that effort.
That's for sure. Hey, Gene, we can't thank you enough for the time. I know your time is very valuable, and you gave us 30 minutes of it. Thank you very much for joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We'll be calling on you again if that's okay.
All good, man. Take care of my hometown, man. Love you
we
guys.
always will.
Thank you.
We always will. Gene Smith,
Buck.
athletic director of The Ohio State University. And, guys, when you go back to